Okay. All right, I'm going to bring the regular meeting of the San Clemente City Council of Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 to order. And first thing on our agenda here is closed session. Do we have any comments?
We do have one comment, AQ.
I was just about ready to make a motion.
Since it was mentioned. So I'm really, thank you so much, council members and city attorney and city staff, and that we have closed session here, and it lists all the case names. I really appreciate that. That's really shows that you're listening, you're to the, to the city, to our residents, and I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Motion to recess?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous, with Councilmember Enmeyer not being present. You can announce it at the beginning, yeah, I mean. Well, we could take a vote on it. You guys ready? All right, we are going to open the business meeting for the regular city council meeting for the city of San Clemente of, what is it, April 4th, 2023. Calling the meeting to order at 6 p.m. here. We'll start out with an invocation. Do we have Senior Pastor Holland Davis from Calvary Chapel, San Clemente here? All right, thank you, sir. Please stand and participate if you'd like.
Let's pray. Lord, it says in your word, what is a man that you are mindful of him, and the Son of Man that you visit him? For you've made him a little lower than the angels, and you have crowned him with glory and honor. You have made him to have dominion over the works of your hands. You have put all things under his feet. And Lord, I thank you for these men who have set aside time out of their schedules, that have put together the sacrifice towards family and business and all sorts of things in order to govern over the affairs of our city. Lord, I pray that you would bless them. I pray that you would bless their families, their marriages, their children, their businesses. Lord, that your favor would be upon them, Lord, that you would give them great wisdom. And Lord, that they would experience the joy of participating with you as they govern over the affairs of our city. Lord, we thank you for our elected officials. Lord, we thank you for our police officers, those that take care of us, for our city manager, Lord, for our city attorney that fights battles for us. We ask that you would just be upon them greatly in your might and your power, and that you would guide them and direct them and lead them to safety, that they might lead us to safety. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Okay. Yeah. Please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Dan Feinberg, could we have you come up and lead us? Dan just turned 80? 80. Was it? All right. 80 years young. Thank you. So, yeah, right at the podium, sir. Please place your hand over your heart, and then, Dan, you can start us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, for liberty, for justice, for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Happy birthday, Dan. Thank you. Can I say that, city attorney?
It's not on the agenda. Okay, well, we're gonna do roll call here. I will note that Councilmember Mark Enmeyer is not present. All other council members are present. Also, there's a new person up here, up on the dais that I want to introduce. Elizabeth Mitchell is our new city attorney. She comes to us from Burke Williams Sorensen. We're incredibly grateful that Elizabeth agreed to come on board with us, and we're already enjoying working with her and getting her good advice. City attorney, of course, incredibly important position for our city and any city, and so we're grateful to have Elizabeth, and I just want to give her a warm welcome to San Clemente. So if you would, please give her a round of applause. Elizabeth, would you want to say a few words?
I just wanted to say thank you to the council and to the city of San Clemente. It's an honor and a privilege to serve you, and I hope to do this office proud. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Elizabeth. And on to special presentations.
All right, first presentation is a presentation by Rick Loeffler, President and CEO of the San Clemente Friends Foundation, providing an overview of the Friends Foundation organization and presentation of a donation to the city.
Thank you, Council. And first of all, are there any other board members here from Friends that in the back going to move up? Are all close enough? Okay, very good. Yeah, it's been a few years since the Friends have given, I guess, a formal presentation to the City Council, so it's long overdue, and I know that were one of the best-kept secrets in San Clemente, and I'm hoping it's not going to be such a secret from now on. A few years ago, I was contacted by Dan Feinberg and the late, great Bill Hart, and they talked to me about this organization that they were interested in maybe having me join, and was called the Friends of San Clemente. And I thought to myself, well, Dan and Bill, I thought you guys were both Jewish. What are you doing in an Amish organization? And they said, no. It's not. It's a non-religious thing. It's a beneficial foundation that gathers money, gets donations, and gives them back to the city's Parks, Recreation, and Beaches Department. And I said, well, that sounds like a pretty cool thing. So I did become a member and immediately was involved in the fundraising, the activities. And first of all, I just want to, we have a few of the board members here, and I just want to acknowledge John Dory, who's here, a jewel to the city. I'll tell you, he's been involved in more functions in the city than I can even name, and he continues with us. He's been a past president of Friends, I don't know how many times. But luckily, he's staying around and just a great member of the community. Yeah, Dan Feinberg, we've already wished him a happy birthday, and Dan was one of the, absolutely. Dan's one of the members that formed the Cyber Cafe, and what that was he gave computer classes, mostly to seniors. And I don't know how many hundreds of seniors he taught how to use a computer, but to all you people that get the emails from your parents and grandparents with the cat videos attached to them, you can thank Dan. Dan's the guy that's responsible for that. We've got Jim Kempton here. Okay, Jim's just, if you ever want to know anything about surfing history from the 50s to now, talk to Jim. He's incredible. He's also a board member of the California Surf Museum, one of the other things he donates his time to. Awesome. Mike Greenwald, I know you know Mike Greenwald. He also spends some time with me on the Public Safety Committee. Let's see, who else is here? We got Jim Nielsen. I get the Kempton and Nielsen. Jim Nielsen's actually our compliance officer. He does all the paperwork for the state, make sure all the forms are filed, and it does that as a full-time job and doesn't charge us anything. And then we have Mary Scobus. Mary is actually our office manager, who actually does all the work and keeps everybody together and actually makes the foundation run. People who are not here tonight, we have the vice president is Brian Wolforth, who's been incredible. He's taken over the golf tournament and just run it like it was just one of our big fundraisers, runs like a Swiss watch now. We have Brian De La Puente, who's our treasurer. Brian, longtime resident, grew up here, played football at San Clemente High, went on to Berkeley and played football and was a lineman for a couple of guys you might have heard of. Aaron Rodgers was one of them, and then went on and played several years in pro football. He's also on our Sports Wall of Fame, which John's going to tell you about here in a few minutes. And then also Brian Wolford's brother, Bernie, you'll remember him. He served as the chair on the Beaches and Parks Committee for several years, and he's been instrumental. This is actually a screenshot from our new website that his company and his IT team developed for us, and it's incredible. I'm going to have you all go to friendsofsanclemente.org at some point and take a look at it. So that's basically, Stephanie Aguilar, who's also not here, she's our secretary, and she's involved in putting the skate contest together and has kids in surfing and skating and all that stuff, and is another just a great member of the community. Associate directors, we have Beth Apodaca, who is, as you know, is the director for the Senior Center. Tamara Tadich, who's actually a employee of the city staff, and also Cindy Holmes. We have ad hoc members of our society, or of our foundation, or Samantha Wiley. And is Samantha here? Samantha is here. Samantha, come up here closer, because we're going to... Samantha, as you know, is the director of Beaches, Parks, and Recreation, and she's the one that formulates her little plans for what we're going to help pay for. And she's really, really good. She's not too pushy, so she knows just how to squeeze every dime out of us. It's really, really good. So anyway, it's a great partnership with her. So let's go on to our second slide here. And here's some of the things we put on. The Springtacular, it's coming up on the 8th of April. It's an Easter egg hunt, and we help sponsor that and hand out some popcorn to the people and get a chance to talk to them. Cinco de Mayo on the 6th, we're coming up at Maxburg Park, and we're trying to formulate this year also sponsoring the beer garden, so we can have some adult activities there that might be a lot of fun. On the 20th of May, we have our Sports Wall of Fame, and I want to apologize. The face that's covering up there is Bill Stewart, the surfboard guy in the city, and I apologize to Bill, but he likes to kind of stay secret also. So can we go to the next slide? Okay, and then we have our big golf tournament, which is the 23rd of June. That's one of our big fundraisers, great community event. We have it at the community center. A lot of corporate support for it. It's been great. A lot of participation. It's a fun event. Then on the September 16th, we've got the skate contest, which we put on. And I can't remember, were you up there, Chris? Did you stop by last year? But anyway, you should all stop by and see these amazing kids skating, doing all the stuff they do. And then our biggest event is the Carnival Colossal in October. And that's the 4-day carnival we put on, great for kids and the whole family. That's our biggest fundraiser. Also this year we're planning on having possibly a beer garden and some live music events enhanced. It should be pretty nice. So these are our big fundraisers, but we also get a lot of corporate support too. And at the end of this little presentation, I'm going to give you guys a hint on how you might be able to participate on this. And one of the things that people don't know about is the Sports Wall of Fame. It's up at the Aquatic Center. Friends in the past put this together. They also helped develop the park there in Courtney Sandcastles, is one of the things we've done in the past. So I just want to have, since it's coming up quickly and it's one of the events, like I say, I don't think the public knows so much about, maybe John could come up and speak to that a little bit. Could you go to the next slide, please? And these are just a few of the people on there. This is just a fraction, but I just wanted to give you an idea what it looked like.
Thanks, Rick. Well, it's obviously obvious that we picked Rick because he can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yeah, it reminds me, do we have a time limit on
one of the problems
this? We may have to put that.
One of the problems we have is that normally our meetings last an hour. Now they're an hour and a half. I am the chair of the Sports Wall of Fame, and it's going to happen on the 20th of May, and invite everyone to come see it. This year we're going to place two people on the wall. One is someone you may know about, someone you do know about. The one you do know about is Fred Swagels. And Fred has been a cornerstone in our community for decades. And everyone on this wall, there is just a sampling there. We've got about 20 people up there right now. Everyone on that wall has probably had an article written by Fred. Fred's touched everyone in this community, including myself when I first got here in 1995. So he is somebody that we're putting on the wall for the years and years of contribution to our community in the sports area. And so we'll make a presentation at that time for him. The other person we're placing on the wall is someone you may not have heard about, but her name is Beth Sandin. And Beth is an individual who's been living in our community since 1988, I believe. She had a horrible accident in a race, broke her back, and the race was involving a triathlon. And she was well on her way to be an excellent triathlete until this happened, and she had to reinvent herself. So what she did was she found a way to participate as a disabled athlete. And she has set world records. She is in the Guinness Book of World Records. She's done 144 marathons and I think 75 triathlons. This is a woman who, like I said, reinvented herself, took on the challenge, and met it head on. And I'm very proud of her. It's going to be an emotional evening. in a lot of sense, and I look forward to emceeing that and conveying, with the help of other people, the backgrounds of both of those individuals and how they fit into our community. So I just invite everybody to be there on the 20th, and there'll be more information in the San Clemente Times as we get closer, and we'll probably come down and make another presentation at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, John, and thank you most of all for taking the mic from Rick. But
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Oh,
I got all the time in the world. Okay, real quick, just to let everybody know, I've showed you how we take in money or our big events. I want to add a couple of things that we also give money to do. It's the Fun on the Run mobile recreation program, which is a truck that goes around to elementary schools and does after-school activities and whatever. We sponsor that. Red Ribbon Week, the big festivities we have down there, we help sponsor that. The Snow Village Snow Hill, or Santa's Village Snow Hill, that pile of snow that the kids slide down. Yeah, we shovel that snow onto there and do that. And then scholarships for community recreational activities. We give money so that Samantha can figure out there's families that maybe can't afford to put 4 kids into camp, or if they have them, we supplement that to make sure that they can participate. And then we have, let's see, did I see Rob Merlot back there? Rod, come on up here because I'm going to need you for the photo anyway. Rob Merlot, who's the jewel of San Clemente Lifeguards there. We've always been looking for new partnerships to form, and this year we formed one with Rod and the San Clemente Lifeguards, and we've got a check to give you tonight. And by the way, I want to remind you, we're going to give you a $23,000 check, but that's only half of the money that we've committed. We will end up giving well over $50,000 to the city this year for these programs. And maybe Rod could tell you, with our new partnership, we also funded a special gift for the lifeguards.
Thank you, Rick. Is my time limit 3 minutes? All right. Thank you. So Rick approached me back when they were accepting applications for grant request, and I submitted a request for a replacement drone for our Marine Safety Division, and gave it to Samantha, and they put it in the pool, and did a presentation to the Friends of the Foundation, and soon after, they voted and they approved the grant request. So I want to thank the foundation, Rick, and all the board members for approving that grant request and the continued support with marine safety, and Mayor Duncan and council members and our new city manager, city attorney, and city management for the support at marine safety. I would like to give a couple plugs here. We do have 2 swim tests for junior lifeguards coming up tomorrow night at Ole Hansen, and Saturday at San Clemente Aquatic Center. First step to become a junior lifeguard is to do a swim test, so sign up for the last 2, and then I'd like to give some kudos to our marine safety staff, all the men and women, the full-time staff, the MSOs and the lieutenants. Last year they had rescued 1,900 swimmers in distress with no drownings and continued that amazing record, so thank you. And thanks again, Rick, and the foundation.
thank you, Rob.
Okay, with that, we got the check to give you, but we're not going to, you notice this isn't a giant check. This is only a medium, because the giant check was $40 more, and that's $40 we want to give back to the city. So, but we're not going to give it to you unless we get a picture with every single city council person here and the city manager and all the board members and Samantha. Come on. I'm not giving them the check unless you guys come up here. Short guys in front, so Dan and Mary get up front. And by the way, if you want to, the farther you've got to get back far and get us all into the farther you get back, the better we look. Come on, Jade. Everybody ready? That's my Christmas card. The last thing. Oh God. Laura, the last slide, please. Last slide. Oh, last slide. Oh, oh, different. This is the most important thing. All you got to do is Google Friends of San Clemente, and our website's going to pop up. And one of the pages on there is donate. And whatever money we get, we give back. So I'm going to make a challenge to the, wait, where's the mayor? Oh, he's there, okay. I'm going to make a challenge to the 4 council people that are here tonight. Any money that any one of you, and let's say you're the leaders of the city here and set the example, any money that you, one of you 4, and I'm going to call Enmeyer too, donate the next 2 days to our foundation, I will personally match. I will match that donation. So I know Victor's going to want to really push me on this one. So it would really be appreciated, and for everybody that's here too, it would really be appreciated. Again, we give back everything that we bring in. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for your brevity.
Is he finished?
I guess he's done. Wow, okay, let's go back to the meeting here.
Okay, next item on the agenda is presentation of proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And Orange County Fire Authority Division Chief Shane Mall is here to accept the proclamation.
All right, come on up, Shane. Does everybody know Shane? Yeah. All right, our division chief from San Clemente. And we got Jay back there, our chief of police services from San Clemente. So we're doing something right here with our public safety, and Rod, of course. Well, I think this is very timely, Shane, that we give this award for Telecommunicators Week, because I'm on the Orange County Fire Authority Board, as you know now, and one of the things I got to do was tour the Fire Authority facility and go see what the dispatchers do up there and how the communications work. It is absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, and these people are saints. They really are. I mean, they're in this room. Every moment is a life-saving moment. Every moment is an emergency. There's a desperate person on the other end who's looking for help and isn't in the best condition to convey information. And you watch these folks in the telecommunications area, they calmly work with people over and over and over again for their entire shift, and they come back the next day and do it again. I mean, this is just an incredible operation. So I think even more close to home, you know, just recently we had our landslides up there, right? So on Buena Vista, where all of a sudden we got reports that we had the slope failure up there, and the reports came in. These guys came and our deputies came so fast, and that's because of our telecommunicators. They were able to convey that information, get people on the scene immediately. So they really do, they really are in the breach. They're in that few seconds, and maybe minutes, but more often seconds between life and death. And it's incredibly it's incredibly awesome that we get to honor them during this week, and I can't wait to give you this, Shane. And we have there's a lot to it, but so let me get right to it. Okay, whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require fire or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of firefighters and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property, as we just saw. Whereas the safety of our firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from the citizens who telephone the OCFA's Emergency Command Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Orange County Fire Authority have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, it be resolved. I, Chris Duncan, Mayor of the City of San Clemente, California, acting on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of San Clemente, do hereby proclaim the week of April 9th through 15th, 2023, to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Orange County, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our city and our citizens safe. That was a lot, but they deserve it. I got to tell you, I mean, I would break down probably on the first day because of the stress they're under. So please convey this back to those folks, Shane, and to all of the folks in the OCFA, just how grateful we are to have you there standing for us and making sure that all of our residents are safe. Really appreciate it. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council and staff, and thank you all for being here. It's an honor, honestly, to be accepting this award on behalf of our dispatchers. As the mayor spoke of, our dispatchers are truly the tip of the spear for what we do as a fire service. Obviously, you see us when we show up, when people call 911. We're kind of the faces of the fire authority, but when somebody calls 911, as you guys know if you've ever done it, it's typically the worst day of your life. And these dispatchers are the first voices that people hear when they call 911, and they are able to talk them through it and calm them down and try and figure it out. And the dispatchers, like the mayor mentioned, have an incredibly difficult job of dealing with people in their worst situations, calming them down, trying to figure out what the true emergency is, figuring out, they got to go through looking at the mapping system, figure out who the closest unit and most appropriate unit is, send them, keep the people calm on the phone while we're on our way. And then also they work with us while we're on scene to help us and guide us through the call to be most successful. So their job is incredible. They're there 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. And it's truly an honor. Just while I have the mic, I won't take as long as Rick, but just wanted to go over a couple of the statistics. Our dispatch center, I truly feel, is the best in the nation, and they're winning awards for it. But just so you get a feel for it, on average, they're receiving about 375 to 430 calls per day. Looked at it this morning. Today is well over those numbers, so some days are busier than others. And the phones are constantly ringing. Daily within our ECC, our Emergency Command Center, is 25 people on duty. And there's lots of positions, as the mayor spoke to. Their target time, so we set a target time because obviously every second counts in this moment. So they set a target time of 1 minute and 4 seconds to make sure that they receive the call, calm the person down, and push the tones for the engine companies to come out to the call. Their target time's 1 minute and 4. Their average actual time that they're getting is 59 seconds. So they're going well above and beyond. And they're being honored on the 21st of this month by the annual Public Safety Awards, which is really the largest kind of public telecommunicators award group in the nation. 3 of our dispatchers are being honored there for Telecommunicator of the Year, Michelle Gager, Grace Romero for Outstanding Performance by an Individual in Fire category, and Kelsey Turnagel for Certificate of Merit for Communications Training Officer. So it's an incredible group of men and women, and it's an honor to accept this on their behalf, and I appreciate the kind words. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it. And great haircut, man.
Oh, thank
Yeah. Can we get a picture quick, maybe? Okay. Okay, are we on to oral communications?
Yes, next
Okay,
item.
But before we get to oral communications, there's an item on the agenda at, what is it again?
9D, I believe.
9B.
D.
9B.
D as in David.
Oh. 9D as in, no.
D.
Okay, 9D as in David. That was agendized by Mayor Pro Tem Knobloch. He's indicated that he would like to table the motion. We'd like to give the audience out there the earliest possible notice. Do you want to make a motion, Mayor Pro Tem Knobloch?
Yeah, if it's appropriate at this time, I'd like to make a motion to pull this item until the next meeting. The bill that I wanted to pass a resolution on has been pulled from the Education Committee, and so I'd like to see what the language is. Also, the resolution was a little verbose, and I think I'd like to narrow the focus a little bit and change the wording on that. So I'd like to have this pulled until the next meeting to see what the Education Committee does, if anything.
Mr. Mayor, I can definitely support that motion, but the friendly amendment I'd have to that motion, if there's anyone here to speak to that agenda item tonight. When that item comes up in new business, they're given an opportunity to speak.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we would do that. Okay, so is that a second?
That was a second.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, just a point of clarification. If the intent is to keep it and then pull it, you shouldn't be doing that now. If the intent was just to indicate to the public that they could go if they didn't want to.
Okay, so we will vote on it when we get to that item?
If that's the intent. I wasn't really sure what the intent was.
I think the intent was to table it for,
To pull it until the next meeting, to continue it till the next
Right.
meeting.
So it depends when you do that. If you do it right now, you won't be hearing public comment because it'll already be gone.
okay.
If you would like to hear public comment, you need to vote on it.
Okay, so we'll vote on it when it gets to the item, but we will advise everybody now that we're going to vote on it then, so you may want to head home if you don't want to wait until that moment.
Yeah, that was my intent, because it was at the very end of the agenda, and I just wanted to let people know in advance. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. We will wait to vote on that till we get to that item. And so we are on to oral communications. Thank you, City Clerk.
Sure. First speaker is Ken Postajaw.
And by the way, see, this is why we have Elizabeth here, to keep us out of trouble, right? We need that. So thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
All right, I'm showing you our new logo here. We just came up with this, Susie did, on Save Our Beaches. And I'm on the North Beach team, as you could imagine. Right now, Orange County is under a state of emergency, which we think could open up state and federal funding for beach replenishment projects. But to take advantage of that funding, we would need to have a project that has already been developed and gone through the permitting process and is ready to be funded. Right now, the city only has a project to put sand back on the beach around our pier from Linda Lane to T Street, which will go in this fall. That's only a portion of our beaches. We need to get projects developed, permitted, and funding ready for all our beaches. Other cities have a dedicated staff member to develop projects and get them permitted. Those cities are getting the money. So we are asking the city to identify and/or hire a dedicated staff member for our beaches. Thank you. Next chart. Just real quick, I know Monday night I missed your meeting. Thank you all for hearing about our security efforts. I'd just like to remind you, I know Mr. Hall is working to an April 18th deadline. We had something happen today, which is a great example. We had Jay has stationed officers at the beach. The officer was at the table when they were smoking. She told them to stop. I wasn't close enough to hear all what's going on. As soon as she left, they just rolled up something again, lit it up, and then she came back and she took one of them away, and they all left. And that's the kind of problem we got. It's not that you can come and tell them not to do something and they say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and they leave. They just wait for you to leave. They roll up another, whatever they're doing, and they light it up and go again and wait till the next time when someone shows up from security. So I hope that you'll think about that. You know, we've had a few emails lately from some concerned residents where we call in OCSD for this very thing. No one shows up. 45 minutes, 1 hour. And we understand that. I mean, we just had Shane talk about all these emergencies all day. And, you know, the last thing they're going to do is show up because someone's smoking a joint on our beach. But it's nasty, and the people don't deserve that kind of environment. And we really need your help to think about how you provide us with this safe, healthy atmosphere for our kids. And it was so awesome today to see a clean beach, kids swinging, people walking around. It was really cool, and I appreciate that. So I hope you put some good effort into that, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Susan Ambrose, followed by AQ.
Good evening, City Council members, City Manager. My name is Susan Ambrose. I'm here as a resident as well as a member of the Beaches, Parks, and Recreation Commission. I'm here following up the note with the person who just spoke about cities that are reaching out for sand replenishment projects. Our neighbor to the south, the city of Del Mar, has submitted their papers for sand replenishment through the SCOOP program, the Sand Compatibility and Opportunistic Use Program, otherwise known as SCOOP. And this is now going to be heard by the Coastal Commission. tomorrow, actually, the 12th of April, or next week, rather, the 12th through the 14th, but it's scheduled for the 12th. This is a program where they hope to capitalize on opportunities to obtain surplus sand from upland construction, development, and dredging projects as they arise, and to put the sand along the shoreline instead of losing the material to an inland disposal site. Something to think about for our city, too. The proposed project is based on very similar opportunistic sand replenishment permits that were approved by the Commission for the cities of San Clemente and so forth. They went on to name Carlsbad, Solana Beach, Encinitas, Oceanside, etc. The city is proposing to put a total of 180,000 cubic yards of material during a 5-year period, an amount that includes either sand placement projects that occur on public beaches within the city, even if it's conducted by other agencies. The beach placement envelope is located entirely on the public beach within the city. The envelope runs from the northerly city limit adjacent to the river mouth of Camino del Mar and from the toe of the North Bluff, and City Manager, perhaps you can help me pronounce this river, this north of the San Diego. Okay. De Guido River Inlet down to the Powerhouse Park adjacent to 15th Street. Because the city anticipates there will be a limited number of projects large enough to support sand replenishment within the city, they're proposing also to excavate sand with unvegetated portions of the river inlet channel as a nourishment source. Another good idea. Maintenance excavation of the inlet channel is currently conducted by Southern California Edison, so monitoring will be done by them as well, along with staff on this project. Let me add one more thing. The primary coastal issues involved with the proposal to place sand on the city shoreline are potential impacts to public beach access and surfing resources, potential impacts to biological resources located both near shore and on the sandy beach, increasing the turbidity affecting water quality and recreation. The project includes parameters for maximum sand placement volumes during the 5-year
All right,
permit.
thank you, Susan. Appreciate it. Your time is up.
Have a time
Thank you.
to look at this. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Thank you. Your time is up. Appreciate it.
Final speaker is AQ.
Hello, council members. I'm concerned with what I heard at the Public Safety Committee meeting and their recommendations that will make it easier for people to take advantage of the RV parking at Vaxburg Park. At the special meeting on March 27th, I went up to Captain Christian about how long it took to handle the RV parking problem at Maxburg Park and across Las Palmas Elementary. And he stated that it's going to be worse with the changes to the RV ordinance. And the success of the RV ordinance to reduce RV parking at Maxburg Park in Las Palmas was a collaborative effort of Principal Barossa, Capistrano Unified School District Trustee Hanachek, and former Trustee Patricia Holloway, former City Council members, current City Council members, OCSD officers, Captain Benfield, and residents to protect the safety of our children in this area. Safety is paramount, and that should be the priority. The meeting started off with implementing the Dana Point ordinance or maybe introducing that. However, there was one comment from a committee member that people can park their RVs in front of their homes. That completely changed the focus of the meeting. The problem stemmed from people in that neighborhood allowing friends to park their RVs and campers there. And I heard that straight from the deputies that I spoke with. For instance, residents took advantage of parking there for a week at a time just to camp with an electrical cord going across the sidewalk from their camper to a house. They also took advantage of parking by calling OCSD to receive parking extensions. Instead of a filing code compliance complaint, they added a comment that they were requesting further time. Then they presented that to OCSD. I know this because I was told this by dispatch. Now the Public Safety Committee are suggesting a 72-hour parking with a permit, but this will only add to the problem of RV parking. People took advantage of the system in calling OCSD to have additional time of up to 72 hours so that they can just camp in front of their homes. I think that the Public Safety, Deputy Community Development Director, Mr. Adam Atamian stated that the purpose of the direction from council was to streamline the process to enable an easier enforcement. So I think they lost track of what the purpose was at the Public Safety Committee meeting. It was to make it easier for enforcement, so people wouldn't take advantage of the system of parking their RVs or campers for days to weeks and even months at one point. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's it for oral communications.
Okay.
Next up is motion waiving reading in full of all resolutions and ordinances.
So moved.
Motion is James, second is Noblock. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous.
Consideration of agendizing items requiring immediate action.
No.
Is this where you were going to, city manager, you were going to introduce? Okay, sure. All right, okay. Hearing none, we can move on.
Closed session report, city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We met in closed session on 4 items. The first 2, and I do apologize, there was a typographical error in the agenda. It says 3 cases, but the 4 cases are listed with names and case numbers. So the first 2 are City of San Clemente versus Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency, the Riverside Superior Court case, and the Court of Appeal case, both listed in the agenda. Direction given, no reportable action. Councilmember Ennemeyer absent. The third case was the City of San Clemente versus Emergency Shelter Coalition, Superior Court case indicated in the agenda. Direction given, no reportable action. Councilmember Ennemeyer absent. And the last case was the National Prescription Opioid litigation, case number listed in the agenda. There was a motion that passed to approve the settlement agreements with Teva, Allergan, Walmart, Walgreens, and CVS, passed unanimously with Councilmember Ennemeyer absent. Those settlement agreements are available for the public to review at nationalopioidssettlement.com. That's nationalopioidsettlement.com, or they can be requested from the city clerk. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, city attorney.
Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. We do have a couple of items that have been pulled by the public. Would you like me to read those first?
Yes.
6A1, 6A2, 6B2, and 6D.
And I have one I want to pull. I want to pull 6F, as in Foxtrot.
And any other items that council would like to pull off the consent calendar? Okay, hearing none, do we have a motion?
Move the balance.
Second.
Motion is Noblock, second is James. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. So we'll be on to the first pulled item, 6A1.
6A1, which is the city council regular meeting minutes of March 21st, and that is AQ.
At the March 21st City Council meeting, I submitted a point of order card, and under the February update on the homeless issue. And I was concerned about Councilmember Ennemeyer's presentation because it was not on the agenda. Obviously, there was no attachment of his presentation. And I sent an email to all city council members, including screenshots of me dropping off the point of order card. And also, I sent it, let's see, screenshots are, yeah. Also, and that was at approximately at 6:40 p.m. And also, there was a screenshot of me me handing or holding one up for Mr. Malamud, because he was commenting on the procedure or lack of procedure, and so I grabbed another point of order card to offer him one. And so I took that screenshot and I sent that to the city council members and also copied the city attorney regarding that. So I just want to know my concerns, why weren't they addressed regarding my point of order card? And in the past, the city attorney used to opine on that. And please let me know what happened. Please let me know if Councilmember Enmeyer presentation was a Brown Act violation or a violation of city policy. And there was a level of expectation that the public has been accustomed to where the city attorney would opine on that. So I'm just wondering why my point of order card wasn't answered or addressed. I could submit another one right now. I already filled that out. So I'll do that as well. But that's all I have. I'm just concerned regarding why my point of order card was not discussed or evaluated or responded to by the city attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we want to address that, city attorney?
Would you like to ask me a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, would any council member like to address the city attorney about that issue?
I will ask a question. Did you receive the point of order? Was it appropriate to opine on it at that last meeting?
So I was not at the meeting that this point of order was raised by, but I did look into the matter today. It's my understanding of city policy that there are 2 points in time that points of order are dealt with. Depends on what time they are raised. So it's incumbent upon the public who wishes to raise a point of order that happens before their public comment to do it during public comment. And if that is done, the procedure is that the mayor rules on the point of order. If the member of the public agrees with it, it's resolved. If they disagree, the entire council is to vote on it at that time. If the point of order is raised after public comment on an item, then the point at which it's decided is during the minutes of the, during consideration of the minutes at the next meeting.
Which would be?
Which would be now, except that it's my understanding for these points of order that they occurred before the public comment. So the point in time that they should have been raised by the public was during their public comment period, and it should have been ruled on then. I can't opine about what happened then, but that's ideally the procedure that should be followed.
Were they raised with the mayor? Do we know?
No, I did not receive any points of order.
Okay.
At that time. So, city attorney, what happens if someone raises a point of order, but it doesn't get transmitted to the mayor to make a decision at the time of the item, as you were saying? Is it appropriate then to bring it up at the minutes for the next item under that scenario?
So that would be a scenario that's not covered by your policy. So it's within the council's authority to decide what you want to do with respect to things that are not covered by your policies, or to make exceptions to your policies by majority vote. But under normal circumstances, if the public wants to raise a point of order before public comment, they should do it during the public comment and request that the point of order be ruled upon at that time.
Okay.
City Attorney, what's secure here? Because it would appear to me that someone owes Ms. Quintanilla a response, regardless of when she submitted the point of order, and then I have concerns that the point of order did not get to the mayor as well.
Possible cures include making an exception and having that decided now. Would be an appropriate time before. The idea of having it be decided before the minutes are approved is so that the council can decide the point of the mayor, and on appeal to the council decides the point of order. If it passes, then you have the potential for there to be a motion for reconsideration, and for that item on the agenda to then be re-agendized for a future time before final action is taken. That's the purpose of when it would occur. So that's one option the council could pursue tonight. It's in your discretion what your procedures are you want to follow with respects to points of order.
Would the council like to address it now? Because of the specific circumstances of this situation?
Let's be expeditious with this, and it'd be my motion to address Ms. Quintanella's motion at this time.
And just to let you know, AQ just handed me another point of order card, so I'll hand that.
Okay.
Can we restate what the question was on the point of order, precisely what the issue was?
Okay, I think it's probably the same as is written on here. At the March 21st City Council meeting, Councilmember Enmeyer gave a presentation under the homeless update, but it was not on the agenda. I'm concerned that this is a Brown Act violation or a violation of city policy. I submitted a point of order card on March 21st at approximately 6:40 p.m. Okay, so in terms of the specific point of order, my understanding was that Councilmember Enmeyer was making a presentation that was part of the staff presentation. That's why he immediately followed the staff presentation and included a staff member, being Chief of Police Services Christian, in the presentation. So I don't think there's any violation here, and that was my understanding of how things transpired, and also that Councilmember Enmeyer is on the homeless subcommittee. So it's my understanding that he was supplementing the staff presentation.
I would have to say, at the very least, it was highly unusual that I've never seen a staff report that a council member then piggybacked on. Additionally, Councilmember Enmeyer is a member of the homeless subcommittee, and he never consulted with his fellow subcommittee member. So I don't know, whether it raised it to a level of a point of order or a Brown Act violation, but I will say it was highly unusual, and I hope we don't have to create a policy to keep it from reoccurring.
Okay, well, I share those sentiments, but I think I stand by that. I don't think there was any Brown Act violation or other violation of city policy here. Okay. Councilmember Cabral, do you have a?
No, this is the first I've heard of it. I probably do have an email in there somewhere that I received, but I've been pretty busy on getting ready for this meeting, so I probably didn't read that particular email. But I am concerned about the policy. I think going forward, what's most important going forward, that we have, the process in place that Amanda is raising, that if the point of order comes to the clerk, that it gets to you somehow or another, or to the city attorney, so that at the appropriate time, there can be some kind of ruling on it. I guess the next meeting is good enough, but it seems like it should be more timely and more brought to the attention of the chair in a more timely fashion, so that you could take action on it.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's a little unusual to have a presentation quite as lengthy as Councilmember Enmeyer's presentation was, but it was totally consistent with the subject matter of the staff report. So I'm not particularly troubled by it. I am troubled by the fact that he was giving a subcommittee report without consulting with the subcommittee members and having the committee do a formal report. But I think he was erring in the side of just communicating what he had been, and he could have shared the same information during council comments, still without consulting the subcommittee. So I think as a point of order, I think it's a legitimate concern that Amanda's raised. I'm not particularly concerned about it being out of order or a violation of the Brown Act.
Okay. Can we have a motion on this item?
Mayor, may I just speak in the absence of our former city attorney, Smith?
Sure, since he's not here.
Exactly. I won't speak on his behalf, obviously, but I did discuss the point of order with him, and it was his call to not have it brought up because the member of the public was speaking on that item. So just to let you know, it was communicated with
Well,
the city.
the city attorney is not the decider. The mayor is the decider with the advice of the city attorney, so.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion on the item? 6A1?
I'll move to approve the minutes. 6A1?
Is that approving the
Yes.
minutes as prepared, or with the notation that the point of order was raised by Amanda and addressed at this meeting?
With the notation that the amendment was raised, or the point of order was raised, yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
You're aye or a no?
I'm an aye.
Okay, so it's unanimous. On to 6A2.
And that speaker is AQ.
Thank you for addressing that, because it was there's a notation regarding that on the point of order card, so that's why I submitted one afterwards. And so I had an opportunity at looking at the minutes of the March 27th meeting. There were wonderful speakers who spoke about Agenda Item 3, the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a contract between gatekeepers. I understand that there is a challenge in documenting the main subject matter as per city policy. However, under my comment, AQ, it states that I spoke in support of the contract with Gatekeeper Security Services. The main subject matter of my comment was that just as Maxburg Park community residents received or had immediate action with OCSD and the city, North Beach business owners and residents should have the same. So I guess basically that is the meta message of my comment, that that residents, that there should be some immediate action, just like at Maxburg Park. So if my public comment can reflect that, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Any discussion from council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, and I just note, I mean, we previously spoken about making sure that we keep the comments as general as we can, otherwise there could always be some disagreement with the details. So we have a motion, James, second, no block. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Six B2.
Just make sure everyone's ready. Next item called by the public is Lois McNichol, and she pulled Public Safety Committee regular meeting minutes of February 28th. And that's item 6B2.
Yes, hi. And I am so happy that we have a Public Safety Committee. And I'm certain that we've had one for a while, so they probably already know what the issues are down here at North Beach. So therefore, I see no reason for a request for proposal. Yes, I know what an RFP is, but I'm certain that a lot of people in the audience that were out here don't, because I've written an RFP. They are for more complicated issues. We have an entire committee focused on public safety. That should be able to give you the information that you need without turning to your staff, that you need in order to form the basis of being able to protect people. I walked down the steps of DeHay Court this morning to go to the beach. There was a man standing there with a can of beer and smoking a cigarette and stared at me. I said nothing because those are stone steps, and I did not know what would happen. So I was quiet. But I find that very odd that this Public Safety Committee was not being mentioned or even addressed when we had gatekeepers here, and we all know what we need out there. And I'm telling you that these people that are out there, and I will give it to the sheriff department, but they're not out there to stop smoking on the beach. They didn't get their job to make sure that nobody was having a party at night. So therefore, you have the information, this RFP and all that other nonsense that you said, oh, we need all of this before we can make a decision. You have that information already.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move to approve
Okay.
the minutes.
Motion is Cabral, second is Noblock. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous.
Next item pulled by the public is item 60, notice of completion for Richard T. Steed Park slope erosion repairs, and that's Lois McNichol.
All right, we could have saved you a trip.
Okay, so we're talking about, I'm sorry, what item now?
Item 60.
Steed Park slope erosion
Oh,
repairs.
Yes, okay. I noticed, I only have one comment on that. I noticed that you're all ready to go ahead and accept this erosion repair thing. I am assuming that this did not require an RFP or even an RFQ, which is request for other quotations, or request for other quotes and estimates, because I don't see anybody else mentioned here. So I'm assuming that you went through the bidding process, but I don't know. And it just says, hey, let's go ahead and accept this right now. So when you want to accept something, you can.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second?
Okay, motion is James, second Noblock. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous.
And next item pulled by Councilmember James, letter of support for Assembly Bill 1708, theft and letter of opposition, Senate Bill 423.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I pulled this. I have a concern with this. I may be the only one to vote against this. Prop 47 was passed by the voters in 2014. It was passed with a 60% of the vote. For Assembly member in Sacramento then to be tinkering with a proposition that was voted on by the people, although I agree with the tinkering, and I vehemently disagree with Prop 47. It was a trick by Sacramento, calling it the Safe Neighborhood and Schools Act when it was far from it. But I don't think if Assembly member or any citizen wants to change Prop 47, it should be at the polls, not in the Assembly. I don't think it has a chance of passing. I will be voting no on this.
Okay. Any other discussion? Or questions for staff?
There's no more discussion. We did just receive one speaker card, one request
Okay.
to speak. George Gregory?
And Mr. Mayor, we'll have to pass, we need to make sure we pass the other one as well, though.
Yeah, okay, so you want to separate them out? Okay.
Yeah, we'll separate them out, please.
Evening, council. George Gregory, criminal still. As far as streamlining, planning, and permits and stuff, run for it. Don't walk for it. Please. It's incredibly difficult to get things through the city of San Clemente to build anything. And I would like you to think about, as you vote yes for this, that you think about some other options to help your citizens and your businessmen along, like simple waivers and stuff instead of variances, which cost $7,000 just to ask a question. We know planning and engineering know each other here in the building. So if they build a catch basin or put a light standard in the middle of your driveway, they should allow you to get a permit to build a driveway around the light standard or a catch basin. These things seem to be evident, and they cause much disruption in trying to get a plan through the city so you can start improving our city. Let's remember, when we build units and stuff like that, we get a lot of property tax. And that property tax does go to the county. But luckily, some of that comes back. All this discussion about sales taxes is a joke. We get so little of the sales taxes, it's kind of rude, really. But the property tax is really the support of the city. And so not to let guys build and not to build housing for people it's kind of jaded, if you know what I mean. So the thing is please think about changing some of the variances and give some options to some of these builders and stuff too. If there's some kind of obstruction or something like that, find out why there's an obstruction to getting the building going and see if we can just waive that instead of going through variances and big discussions and stuff like that. You know, I've been trying to develop my property for 20 years. So, and I have good property. I want to just build conforming. I don't want to do low income. I don't want to do ADUs. I just want to build a conforming duplex. So really spend a little more time on this, please. And like I say, if you can't walk and you can't run, call an Uber. Thank you.
Thank you. And nice Ocean Fest shirt, George. That's a classic right there.
Yeah, it's an older one.
All right, appreciate it. Okay, now is that the only comment?
That's the
City
only
Clerk?
speaker
Okay,
comment, yes.
so now I guess we'll have discussion. Do we have any council members have any questions for staff or discussion on either of these two recommended actions?
Could we handle them separately? Could
Yes, we'll handle them
I'd like to move the opposition Senate Bill 742.
1718.
17, which,
Well,
All you can say is you can just say, you can move staff recommendation 1.
that's what I'm moving.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve staff recommendation 1 with regard to Assembly Bill 1708. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion's Corral, second is Noblock. I'll just note to the comments that this is, well, actually, there wasn't a comment on this one. So, okay, let's do a line vote then, because I think we have Councilmember James who's expressed some opposition. Councilmember Cabral?
Aye.
Okay. Councilmember James? No.
I'm going to vote yes, and the reason, I think Councilmember James makes some excellent points, but I think this is at least a step in the right direction. I don't know that it solves the bigger problem, but it's at least a baby step in that direction, so, and subject to voter approval, and I'm going to vote yes, but I appreciate the comments that he made.
Okay, I'm an aye as well, to improve public safety, and so that motion, that resolution passes 3-1 with James as the no vote. Do we have any discussion or motions on stack recommendation F2?
I would move to approve and authorize the mayor to execute the letter of opposition for Senate Bill 423, provided as attachment 3 of the administrative report dated April 4th, 2023, on file with the city clerk.
Second?
Okay, motion is James, second is Noblock. And I'll just note, yeah, that for this one, this is all about local control. We have processes in place in the San Clemente to streamline our permitting, and we're going to be continuing to work on that. But we should have some control over the development that happens in the city. That's why the city looks like it is. We want that to continue. Okay, so we have that motion and second on the table. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, so that one is unanimous.
Unanimous with Annemeyer absent.
With Enmeyer absent, yes.
Okay, we've got public hearings up next. The public hearing process includes a staff presentation, a presentation by the applicant not to exceed 10 minutes, and public testimony not to exceed 3 minutes per speaker. Following closure of the public hearing, the city council will respond to questions raised during the hearing, discuss the issues, and act upon the matter by motion. First item on the public hearing agenda is adoption of the draft 2023-2024 annual action plan for expenditures of community development block grant funds.
Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. No? Okay.
Would you like the staff presentation
Yes,
first?
let's have the staff presentation and then any comments after that, or any.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, Cecilia Gallardo-Daly, Community Development Director. Here with me tonight on this item is Mike Linares, our Community Development Block Grant Consultant. Each year, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD, requires the city to adopt an annual action plan. The purpose of the annual action plan is to receive the city's allocated CDBG funds and set forth the activities to be funded for fiscal year 23-24. The city will receive approximately $314,000 in CDBG funds for fiscal year 23-24. HUD regulations require that the draft annual action plan be available for public review for 30 days. And for the city to hold a public hearing to obtain resident comments regarding the plan and proposed use of the funds. The proposed eligible projects and activities in the action plan fall into 4 general categories: public improvements, housing and commercial rehabilitation, public services, and program administration. These categories are consistent with the funding priorities in the city's adopted consolidated plan. Under public improvements, the action plan proposes CDBG funding for the Maxburg Park Fountain Refurbishment Project. This work would include refurbishment of the 4 historic fountains at Maxburg Park. The action plan also proposes funding for housing and commercial rehabilitation. In the area of public services, grant funding is proposed for 6 organizations that submitted applications to the city. On March 9th of this year, the Social Services Budget Committee met and recommended approximately $40,000 in CDBG funding to local nonprofit organizations serving San Clemente residents. A portion of the funds are proposed for administration of the Community Development Block Grant Program. And with that, staff recommends adoption of the draft 2023-24 annual action plan for expenditures of Community Development Block Grant funds. And I'm available for questions, as is Mike Linares, our CDBG consultant. Thank you.
Do we have any questions before we hear any public comments? Do we have any public comments?
We have just one public comment.
Okay. Any questions of Cecilia before we get to the public comment? Okay, not seeing none. We'll hear the public comment.
Lois McNichol.
I do know a little bit about CDBG. So you were talking about the fact that you were going to have 6 nonprofits were going to be receiving funds from the CDBG grant that was going to be received by San Clemente. Is that correct? But I didn't notice you give it any names. So
Please direct your comments to us, and then
Okay,
we'll ask questions
are
of staff.
the funds that are being given to these 6 nonprofit, because they weren't mentioned? So is one of those nonprofits FAM, and would those funds then be used to, again, feed the homeless down by North Beach, which is where they are feeding them right now? And that's one of the issues that we brought up consistently. So I would like to know if these funds are being provided for organizations that are contributing to the problems that we're having with the vagrants on North Beach. Who also, one more story. I was picking up trash on North Beach, and I noticed somebody was going to light a cigarette. And all I stated was, there is no smoking allowed on the beach. This man ran toward me and said, "What in the hell are you going to do about it, bitch?" That was another wonderful vagrant.
Okay. Does any council member have any follow-up for staff on that?
I have a few questions, if this is appropriate
Yes.
time. The nonprofits that would be receiving money under the $150,000 housing rehabilitation component, those haven't been identified in this report because they're being recommended at a later time. Is that
Before we
right?
get into that, I'm going to close the public hearing because that is our last comment.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, if there's going to be questions of staff, that should be during the public
Oh,
hearing.
okay. Open. We will reopen the public hearing. And.
Now I can ask a question.
Answers, yeah, ask. So
Okay.
was that directed to Cecilia?
Yes.
Okay.
Or the city manager, whoever.
So the public service grants are under public services, and that amount is capped at 15% of the total allocation. So that's approximately $47,000. The 150 that you're referring to is housing and commercial rehab. Those are private property owners and businesses that apply for that grant funding. The public service grant recipients are identified in the staff report. So that funding for public services is as allocated based on the recommendations in the report, page 2, under item 3, public services.
So I guess my question is, in terms of this is a HUD program designed for housing. We talk about homeless and their lack of housing and the need to address their need for housing, their need to be cared for in terms of housing. My question is, there's an organization that does some great work to help the mentally ill people ultimately find housing, and that's the Be Well organization out of Irvine. My question is, could any of these resources be allocated through a quasi-housing bootstrap, if you will, to allow some of the funds, some of the almost $400,000 funds to be allocated to Be Well organization so that they can expand their reach from central Orange County into South Orange County and hopefully assist us here in San Clemente with the mentally ill folks that are on our street, that are homeless. And that's sort of my question. Is it possible to direct some of these resources potentially to the Be Well organization to help people that ultimately will need housing? I know it's a housing component and it's not a direct application, but is there I'd like to at least have an analysis or some thought given to the possibility of seeing if that's even a remote possibility. And in the sense this is a draft, I want to make sure that that concern is addressed before we put this in cement.
Did Be Well apply?
Be Well did not apply.
Okay.
And in order for funding to be allocated toward Be Well, it would have to fall under the public services category, and there is a cap of 15% of the annual CDBG program funds.
Okay, are we committed to these dollar amounts in these various categories? In other words, my question would be, in the housing rehabilitation, I understand there've been a few contracts, but not that many, and the bulk of these funds are for housing rehabilitation. So that my question is, could some of these funds be moved, the dollar amount in each category be moved? Is that part of the draft, or?
I'll have Mike Linares, our Community Development Block Grant Consultant, answer the
Okay.
question.
Mr. Consultant, I appreciate your comment.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. As our director was saying, there is a cap on the public service program for CDBG. Those are social service programs. At 15%,
Right.
the agencies that have been listed in the staff report, that amount that's allocated, and it's also allocated in draft plan, maximizes that dollar amount. If I'm understanding the program that you're describing, that would probably fall under that 15% category. So in order to, for lack of a term, shoehorn a program like that in, we may need to readjust those numbers, but to stay within the 15% cap.
Is there any way to get outside that 15%? I know that's 15% for social services. This is a housing, the others are housing, more housing related. Is it possible to analyze the fact that homeless people need housing? The mental illness problem is part of the reason why they don't have housing. And if the mental illness is addressed, they might be able to more competently obtain housing. And the Be Well organization in this county is probably one of the only organizations that's doing effective mental health, true mental health work. And is there any way we could, as you said, bootstrap, and that's kind of my thinking as well, to
Yeah,
bootstrap, and change these numbers in order to get a source for Be Well. I think if we get Be Well down here, we're going to be able to help a lot of people ultimately get housing. So I understand the percentage, but I'm
Yes.
trying to wiggle through it if it's possible.
Right. Unfortunately, with that cap, that's set by Congress. It literally takes an act of Congress to waive that cap. It got waived a couple years ago during COVID. They eliminated the cap so more money could be put into services to help individuals during the pandemic, but that was only available for the 1 year. So we were back at the 15% cap for public services. So right now, the only way, if this is a service-oriented program, okay, the only way to really get funding into a program would be within that cap. So we would have to probably reduce grants to other organizations to create additional room within that cap to be able to fund that such a program. I'm not familiar with that group. I suspect that the program you're describing would fall under that 15% category, though. So outside of that, it would be very difficult unless they'd be proposing to use funding perhaps to acquire property or to do, if they had an existing facility, to do rehabilitation or something along those lines.
Okay, I appreciate your answer.
Yeah, unfortunately,
That's what I need to
it's
know.
that
and
cap, and there's been a lot of discussions, a lot of frustration about raising that cap because really in many communities, there's need for more service funding.
And also to note, I mean, while WeBuild didn't apply this time, and they're not operating in San Clemente right now, which I think you have to be. They're going to open a facility up in our spa in Irvine, in South Irvine.
Right.
So
My-
that may be coming down the road at some point.
I agree. I know that's coming. My goal was to find a source to maybe entice them to come south quicker. That was my goal. But thank you for that response. I appreciate it.
Any comment? Any other comments?
Yeah,
or
related to one of these identified payments. We talk about money going to those at risk of being homeless, or one of these groups is getting money for those at risk of being homeless or the homeless. My concern is mostly those people that are the working poor, and second, those at risk of becoming homeless, because I think that's where we can have the most impact. Is there any way to narrowly tailor this to those at risk? Because I think that's where you get the most benefit as opposed to those that are already coming to our town and homeless.
Yeah, Council, if you look at the agencies that are being funded, the consolidated plan, that was mentioned, the consolidated plan strategy is to use your public service grant funding to provide safety net services. If you look at that document, it actually uses that term. So the programs that are recommended in the draft plan would provide those types of safety nets. Meals on Wheels for seniors, low-cost medical through Camino Health Center. The proposal from Family Assistance Ministries, that's actually funding to provide rental and utility assistance to families who are at risk of being evicted as part of documentation that they provide the city when the CDBG programs are reimbursement. So the agencies spend the money, then they submit their reimbursement request to the city with documentation showing that they met their goals of the program. And as part of that, for that homelessness prevention program, is they have to provide a notice of eviction, 3-day pay or quit, or for utilities, it's a shut-off notice. So it's really going to help those people that are really at risk of losing or being kicked out of their home or having their utilities shut off. Parentis Foundation provides tutoring for kids at.
I'm really asking about that
Yeah,
that
so
last one. If
my
we
point
struck-
is that that's the monies are kind of geared toward that already. There's always room to accept other applications and maybe other programs to bring in some diversity, maybe some other approaches to address, as you're saying, those are in need to help prevent the people becoming homeless.
Well, no, I like what we're doing with those at risk of becoming homeless. I'm not so sure about spending the money for other purposes. That's why I'm saying, would it be all right to strike that second word? Would that affect this proposal at all?
I'm sorry, which second word, council member?
Or homeless?
So in the Family Assistance Ministries.
I mean, we could. It's part of the documents written to the reader, which is the federal government, and so they're looking at that homeless strategy. So it's in there to make sure that we're touching all the critical points. But the funding itself is going toward. In this case, I don't know if any of them would directly be for homeless services.
I think
street
there's a real
services.
need for homeless services. I'm not.
No, I understand. Yeah.
So I think I heard you say FAM would need to spend money on utility assistance, rental assistance, and then seek reimbursement for that. Is there other things that they could seek reimbursement for in addition to those programs to keep people housed?
That's the proposal, that's the application they submitted was for that program. FAM has multiple programs and services. The one that they're requesting funding from the city, specifically that
Okay,
prevention program.
so we would expect that they only seek reimbursement for those programs. Okay, so I think that addresses Councilmember Cabral's issue, because they're saying they're only gonna spend money on keeping people housed and then.
And addressing those that are about to become homeless,
Sure.
or those that are on the verge of becoming homeless through subsidies. And I'm all in favor of that. I just don't want to see all the money go somewhere else.
Right, but it's not going to, because they have to seek reimbursement, right? So if they seek reimbursement for something outside of that scope, we could deny the request.
Right. Each agency will submit a scope of work that becomes part of the agreement, and that scope of work, they'll have to spell out how the funds are going to be used. The city will hold them to their application. Their application says we're going to use the funds for these purposes. So if they were to come in for a different program, I, in conjunction with Cecilia, would say, no, that's not what you proposed to the city. You got to stick to what your application.
So you do understand that the need we're trying to feel is those at risk of becoming homeless. All right, I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Sure. No, I was going to ask any other questions for staff.
So, what is the city's Social Services Budget Committee? Who makes up that committee?
The Social Services Budget Committee is made up of a member of the City Council and 2 members of the Human Affairs Committee. This year, it was comprised of Councilmember Enmeyer and Human Affairs Committee members Aaron Washington and Stuart Anderson.
Okay, so that's who I thought it was, but I've never seen that term used for them. I oppose the $10,815 to Family Assistance Ministries. The fact is, we supplement their rent in a city-owned building every month at a rate of probably about $7,000 a month, so a total of $84,000 a year. And I may have this number wrong, but at some point in time in the past, the city gave FAM a $10 million loan that they pay off that's forgiven. They don't pay off $50,000 a year. Money is fungible. You know, this city gives FAM a whole lot of money, and I think FAM is a magnet for many of the problems that we have in North Beach. So, you know, I'm against this. I'll be a no vote just on the donation to FAM. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions of staff?
Does this item authorize a donation to FAM?
$10,815.
It's a reimbursable expense.
It's a grant. The city would be granting them a dollar amount, for a specific dollar amount, yeah.
They get reimbursement up to that amount. That's the grant. Any other questions of staff?
I'd like to speak to that. I mean, I think.
Well, we're gonna have discussion.
Okay.
But once we're done with questions with staff, we can close the public hearing and then have discussion. So, any other question? Okay, so we'll close the public hearing, and then Councilmember Cabral.
Yeah, I like the idea of it's not our money; it's a grant from the government. I would like it to see it limited to those that are on the verge of becoming homeless and helping them, because there are people here, there's a lot of people in this community that are the working poor, that work in restaurants, that do gardening, that do housekeeping, that live paycheck to paycheck. And I think if there's a need, and one of those people goes to FAM, that for that purpose alone, you know, I'd like to see this federal money be available for them, but only for that set of people.
They're becoming homeless, not for the
think-
homeless.
Yeah, yeah, not for the homeless, but for those on the verge of becoming homeless.
I think we heard that is, their proposal is just to spend money for that.
Okay,
So we
well,
have-
I just want to clarify, I want to make that part of
Okay.
the clarifying motion relative to this, because it does say, or homeless.
Okay.
Which opens it up to, in my view, to any expenditure later on.
Would you like to make a motion with that proviso?
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve with that proviso, striking or homeless in this. Well, that's not in that's in the staff report, but
Page 2 of the bottom of
Is it sufficient, Cecilia, to clarify that we're directing that the money be used for people at risk of homelessness exclusively? Yes, okay, yes, okay. So I think we're clear with that
So
proviso.
your recommendation is for page 2, bullet point 3, eliminate the word homeless and just keep homeless.
But this is just a staff report.
it's just
No,
a
I
staff
understand.
report, yeah.
I understand, but that's the language that you don't want to approve in your motion.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Still have, I have a question. Is there another nonprofit? I mean, I like where Mr. Cabral is going with this. Is there another nonprofit other than FAM that could do this? Because like I said, we give FAM a hell of a lot of money, and I'm not too sure what we get back from it.
Did any other groups apply? Maybe that's the,
Are we allowed to ask staff questions then?
Yeah, are we allowed to
Public
ask?
hearing is closed, we
You
can
need to
open.
reopen the public
Okay,
hearing.
I'll
so
move-
we're-
If you want to
Alright.
ask a question, I'll
right,
move
so-
and reopen it for purposes of.
okay, we'll reopen it. We'll reopen the public hearing. Yes.
The only other organization that applied but wasn't selected for funding was the Boys and Girls Club.
Ooh, now there would be, I would take this, I would have, after this public hearing, I would be inclined to give a friendly amendment to take this $10,815 and divert it from FAM to the Boys and Girls Club.
Do we know why they were not approved? Boys and Girls Club, because that's a great organization. I was just there the other day, talking to the kids.
There were, well, the final recommendation came from the committee.
Yeah.
They had they had all the applications that were submitted. The Boys and Girls Club actually requested all the funding that was available. We knew there was approximately 40,000, so they asked for the whole 40,000. There were significant issues with the application. Budgets didn't add up, a lot of blank information. I did reach out to them on a couple occasions, asked them, provide them with technical assistance. They never responded to those. But ultimately, the decision on funding came from the committee.
Could we hold this $10,815 in advance while the Boys and Girls Club gets a good document together?
In other words, is there a timeliness issue here? Do we need to kind of approve this in order to get the ball rolling with the federal government now?
The action plan needs to be submitted by by mid-May. We need a 30-day comment period, which we've already completed. So there is time. There is a time element that we do need to keep in mind. We do have some time, but there is a time element.
But the action plan includes as a category of money, but it doesn't, what we're approving tonight doesn't identify specific approvals. Is that correct?
No, it would, council member. Yeah,
It
the draft
would.
action plan actually identifies the
specific
same
organizations.
organizations
Okay,
for those
so-
dollar amounts.
Okay.
Yeah. So your action tonight would be approving these specific grants moving forward
Okay.
for next fiscal year.
All right, so is your motion still stand? Councilmember Cabral?
Was it seconded?
Yes, it was seconded by Councilmember.
I did second it, and Councilmember James has made a suggestion, and I guess it sounded like that door was shut, but I'm not convinced that it's shut.
All right, I would withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Well, I'll withdraw the second then. if there's-
So I would make a motion that this $10,815 would go to Boys and Girls Clubs with the understanding that the Boys and Girls Club submits the appropriate paperwork to the city.
To assist
yeah.
families that are becoming potentially becoming homeless.
Yes.
Okay, you're making that motion? Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have motion, James, second, Cabral, to replace, I guess, FAM with Boys and Girls Club. What was the specific purpose that Boys and Girls Club proposed as it pertained to housing?
Is it after school?
Or does it not have to be housing? Could it be any public service? Any public service, okay.
It was their, excuse me, Mayor, it was, their proposal was for their after-school program. So it was their general program. It wasn't specific to any population.
Okay. Would you accept a friendly amendment to split it in half and still give some to FAM and some to Boys and Girls Club? And I'm sensitive here because I don't want to step on the toes of our committee, right, who has done a thorough review, and then we just sort of completely second-guess them.
Well, you know, we second guess our planning commission. We second guess a lot of folks. You know, we have the ultimate accountability.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a second guessing. They advise, but advice is not always taken, and advice can be acknowledged and considered, and other decisions made.
So my motion will, I'll make it more specific and say this $10,815 would go to Boys and Girls Club with the understanding it's going to help families who are at risk of becoming homeless with an array of housing and support services. And I'm confident they will take that money and use it wisely.
Okay. And does the second stand? Second stands. Okay, any further discussion? No?
Call for the question.
Okay. Well, I from Mayor Pro Tem Noblock.
Mr. Mayor?
So, yes.
I would recommend that you ask staff if that's possible and practical, given what the application was. You may want to ask staff some more questions about whether that.
About the clarification about what it's going to be
Yes,
sent
if
for.
that will work.
Is that in line with any of the services that the Boys and Girls Club proposed to provide?
Yes, I believe it can be found in compliance with the consolidated plan and with our goals and objectives. But if I may just ask a question, if the Boys and Girls, considering the timeliness of the reporting for this, if the Boys and Girls Club cannot provide us with the information in time to submit to HUD, would the council consider dispersing the 10,815 amongst the remaining grantees?
I would accept that.
That sound fine? Okay.
Let me ask a follow-up question. If the Boys and Girls Club is incapable and doesn't provide any of those services that Councilmember James's motion encompasses, the money's held over for another year, correct? It doesn't get spent, but it doesn't disappear, correct? So the fund is a little bit larger next year if they can't provide that service?
Yeah, that's correct. It would just roll over into
I would
program.
support, if they can't do it, the rollover of the funds rather than just disperse prorated among the other organizations.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I would have liked to disperse prorated because then they get the money now. Okay, so does the motion encompass, the motion is that if the Boys and Girls Club does not submit the paperwork in time to do the services that Councilmember James has detailed, then enough sufficient to approve it, that will roll over that $10,000 into the next year's grant application.
Yes.
Excuse me, point of clarification on that, Mayor, Council. that 15% cap goes from year to year. So you're not able to move, that 10,000 doesn't get
Okay.
spent this year, you can't add it to next year because you'll go over your
So
cap.
we would basically lose the money if we don't
The city will,
disperse
the
it.
city will not lose the money. You will be able to keep the money. You just won't be able to use it for services. Typically, what would happen is it'd become available to do capital improvements or your housing rehab or something to
The
those
other
lines.
categories
The other
that you've
category.
identified.
Yeah, other than
That
admin
makes sense?
or
That works? Okay, sorry. I thought we were going to lose the money. Okay, is that clear, City Attorney, in terms of what the motion is?
Mr. Mayor, I would prefer that you repeat the motion
Okay.
before it's voted on.
Let me attempt to do the motion. So the motion is to approve the staff recommendation with the revision that the $10,815 currently allocated for Family Assistance Ministries is reallocated to Boys and Girls Club of San Clemente, contingent on their timely submission of a sufficient application demonstrating that they're going to use those funds to assist families who are at risk of becoming homeless and connect their proposal to that service. And if they do not timely submit the application, then that $10,815 rolls over into next year's grant application to be spent on something other than public services.
Is that a second or so moved?
I'm just restating your motion.
Okay, so.
And I think, so your motion still stands with Cabral as the second. I'm just restating the motion.
Yes, if we could just get confirmation that the mayor has accurately restated
He
your
has
motion.
accurately.
And the second?
He has accurately.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can you close the public hearing before?
Okay, we'll close the public hearing.
Thank you.
And
Call for the question again.
Mayor Pro Tem Noblock is an aye.
Aye. Aye.
And I'm an aye, so it ends up being unanimous. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next.
We're at risk of not finishing by 8 p.m.
We're
now.
getting there, we can get there.
Okay, we're on to
Next
7B.
public hearing, yes. Registration fees and policies for the San Clemente Junior Lifeguard Program.
Get through this one fast.
Samantha, welcome.
Thank you.
We will hear the staff presentation, and then we'll hear any comments.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Excuse me, could you just open the public hearing, please?
Oh, is this a public hearing too? Yes. All right, I'm going to open the public hearing. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. And Samantha Wiley, Beaches Parks and Recreation Director. Before you this evening is a consideration of increasing the fees for the participation in the Junior Lifeguard Program, which is a program operated by our Marine Safety Division during the summertime. Coupled with the fee increase is also a consideration to amend our registration process to prioritize residents of San Clemente to take basically 24 hours advance registration ahead of non-residents. The fees included in the staff report reflect an increase up to $270 for residents and $300 for non-residents. This does still maintain the city's program as one of the more affordable junior lifeguard programs within our area. I want to note that it really boils down to the program becomes about $6 an hour with the proposed fee, which is very affordable. Close by, other cities, including the city of Huntington Beach, as well as the San Clemente State Beach program, they're about $5.50 per hour. So we're within range of our neighboring programs. I also want to note, I know there's a lot of different concerns surrounding the registration process for junior lifeguards. This is one of our most popular summer camp programs. It is a San Clemente tradition and very beloved by many of our longtime residents and their children and grandchildren now. I want to reiterate that the Beaches Parks and Recreation Department does everything we can to get as many children in the program as possible. We do have a wait list. We don't turn children away. Tuesday. We always encourage folks to sign up for the wait list if they can't get in. And if there is scenarios that become available, and there typically is, we do have other sessions that are open and don't get filled. So this program caps at 840 kids every summer. Last year we took in just over 820. So there were still spaces available. With that, I am happy to take any questions, but that concludes my staff report.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do have a couple of questions that I know the answers to because we went over it. But could you explain to some of the parents, we've got a lot of concerns about that fixed time where you have to apply and within a minute, I think everybody's filled up for all these positions. But you gave me some good information about the online process and what you have to go through. Can you explain that to the public, really, about what that process looks like and how do you make sure that you get in the queue in a timely fashion?
Yeah, certainly. Thank you, Councilmember Cabral. So registration opens on Wednesday, April 26th, and that starts at 8 a.m. Most of our junior lifeguard parents and families know that they need to create their account now. They can do it today, do it in advance. They should already have one if they've already done their swim test. And the encouragement is to be ready just before 8 o'clock, be logged into your account, and have your class listed. You'll want to refresh your browser pretty close to 8 a.m. so it repopulates it. We have 6 sessions that are available, and I want to note that a customer can hold on. So if you click add to cart, it's going to hold that position for you for 15 minutes. It's going to stay in that cart. So oftentimes we'll receive phone calls from parents who are really frustrated because they see that there's only 11 out of 140 registered, and it's telling them to wait list. It's because those are being held in someone's cart. After 15 minutes, it's going to leave that person's cart, and that's why we strongly encourage to wait list. If you can't get in now, put yourself on the wait list, and oftentimes it will shake out at the end of it. Individuals who might not be able to have a computer or access a computer are welcome to walk into our community center, front desk area, as well as the San Clemente Aquatic Center, and we do have customer service staff that are ready and to jump in and set up accounts. They're welcome to do that early in the morning if that's the case on the first day of registration. And just like somebody sitting at the computer at home, our front desk staff will be eagerly waiting at 8 a.m. to get somebody into that session as well.
Can you also just explain briefly, because I thought this was valuable, why it gets filled up so quickly and why the wait list is important? Because there's a lot of people that apply for, I guess, many slots, not knowing where their friends are going to be. But could you explain that
sure.
again?
So, kids love to be with their friends, right? And we know that busy summertime parents, they're trying to schedule carpools, and they've got lots of kids going lots of places. So oftentimes we're aware that families sign up for multiple sessions, and eventually they will end up dropping those sessions depending on where their best friend landed or their carpool buddy landed within the sessions. So we don't have a policy that prohibits multiple course registrations, so you can sign up for as many as you can get into. However, again, that is why it's important to wait list, because oftentimes a family will come back and drop potentially 2 or 3 sessions that they signed up for, and that's how we begin to clear the wait list. And it takes a staff about 7 days or so to really get through all of our wait lists and let everything shake out.
And can you repeat those numbers? I think we had 840 slots last year, and we only filled 820, as you?
Yes, that's correct.
So everybody that wanted to participate could have participated last
Yes,
year.
and we
Maybe
did-
not the
Correct.
time slot.
That's correct. Yeah, if there's flexibility in someone's scheduling, we'll do our best to get anybody into the
Thank you.
program.
I have some questions.
Sure.
So, there was a form letter came out. A lot of residents from Capo Beach and San Juan sent us a form letter. When I got the first one, I agreed to ask a couple of questions, and as I got more the same form letters over and over, I regretted, but I did commit to asking the questions. So I'm going to have some questions for you. What are the number of non-resident versus resident participants?
It's a good question. Last year, it was about 100 participants that were non-residents. That's about 12% of our total registration list. Comparatively, just for some context, overall, in all of our rec programs and classes, we average about a 17% non-residency rate. So this is underneath our current average non-resident rate.
Then, where are the non-residents from? Neighboring communities, question mark? I think there's also people who come here for the summer who, can you expand?
Yeah, I'll be honest, they're all over the country. Many of them, I think a majority of them are from our surrounding cities, including everywhere from Ladera Ranch, Rancho Mission Viejo, San Juan, Dana Point. But we do have some folks who are out of town. There's a handful of them. Typically in those scenarios, they are their family's vacation in San Clemente every year. So they are not excluded and not exempt from taking the swim test. They have to come out in person at some point to test, and they have to go through the same process that anybody else would.
Two more questions. The number of junior guards with no rank versus rank. And this is important, and please explain why this is important to some people.
Sure. So the junior lifeguard program has an officer, a quote-unquote officer program or opportunity for returning junior lifeguards to try out for. There's a lieutenant and captain and cadet opportunity. These don't do really anything for the program other than give the child an opportunity to step into a leadership role where somebody who's a lieutenant, they might have the opportunity to spend time with the rookie group that year.
A peer leader, if you will.
A peer leader, exactly. That's correct. We have about 90 of those last year between all three of those ranks. They don't make or break the program. It's a leadership opportunity, and we find it valuable, but it's not going to end the program if we don't have enough. We don't have a minimum requirement or a maximum on that. It's really whoever can pass the test and demonstrates an interest in taking on that leadership opportunity.
And then my final question is the number of junior guards with the rank needed to serve as assistant leaders per session. They're really not.
We don't really have that. Again, the program was developed just to give opportunity to some of our youth who demonstrate leadership.
So my final statement will be, there were a lot of people from Capo and San Juan, Ladera Ranch who wrote to us, and they talked about how they thought they should have equal access to San Clemente residents, and they're disappointed, and they changed their they had to change their vacation schedule, the whole thing. I apologize to them. However, we represent San Clemente residents, not San Juan residents, and I am going to really push. I thank you. I know I pushed you a little bit on this, but I think the vast majority of San Clemente parents are going to be thankful for what you put together here. Thank you very much. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Samantha, what's the timeline for getting these rates approved in order to get rolling?
Yeah,
What's the time?
we are looking to implement this for this coming season.
At what time, when was that, the computers open up to?
April 26th.
April 26th. So this program generates about $250,000 in revenue, 248 if you do the math by
Yes.
840.
Yep.
The cost of the department exceed that amount? Or
No, what this increase is actually going to help offset potentially what this council's going to discuss, wage increases for our part-time staff later on in this agenda, so it'll help
What are the
offset
costs
that.
roughly? Do you have any idea of what generates 248, your costs are approximately, and what's the delta?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but it is a little bit more than a break even, so it gives us a little bit of a buffer.
The reason I asked that, to follow up on the other comments that have been made, it kind of concerns me. I like the idea of giving our citizens, our kids, a head start, no question about that. But also, I think in terms of the fee, we're talking about $30 difference. I think people that come from out of city should be paying a lot more than $30. If we boost, and when you compare what other cities are charging for their equivalent program, they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars ahead of us. So I'd like to see the non-residents pay a whole lot more, 100, 150, and have that money offset the amount of increase so that we give our kids less of an increase. So I'd recommend, if we move forward, that we assess out-of-towners an additional $150 and have that amount of money for the other roughly 85% or 83% of our people have their fee dropped from your proposed rate, accordingly, take that number off so that if there's any rate increase at all, which I'm sure there will be some, it won't be 30, it'll be a lot less than that.
Is our computer system capable of handling that kind of separation between resident and non-resident in terms of the fee paid?
It is. I just want to note that it's likely, keep in mind that when we give non-residents later access, we're very unlikely to get non-residents. The program will become a majority of residents. So you're really probably not going to see a lot of non-resident fees being taken. And that's my only.
You said about 17% was non-residents.
12, I think. for this
12%,
program.
100 total participants were non-residents. So if we're looking to prioritize residents, so they're going to get a 24-hour jump start on non-residents. The program will likely fill up just with residents alone. So I'm not certain at this point, because we haven't done this before. I don't know how many non-residents we'll actually have after we prioritize
Well, I still
residents.
think that if we increase the non-residents, that will have more additional money to make sure we get our lifeguards paid and so forth.
Absolutely.
So that'll increase, and if they're 17%, that's about 126 people. At $100, that's 12,600 plus, so that's almost the price of a lot of overtime for our lifeguards, so. I'd recommend we move forward, but I'd like to see an increase of at least 100 to 150 for non-residents.
Okay, let's continue that on in discussion. Any other questions for Samantha here? I only have the last clarification. You covered it sort of briefly, but in addition to the fee increase, there's the residents would apply one day before non-residents. Is that right?
That is correct,
And that's
yes.
the benefit for residents. And because of the numbers that Councilmember Cabral talked about, it's likely then that every resident will get a time slot on that first day.
Yes, so just so the public knows and council knows, passing this resolution tonight opens registration on April 26th for residents and April 27th for non-residents at 8 a.m.
Thank you. Yes.
I have one other item. We were spoken to earlier about the swim tests, 2 tests happening soon. Do they have to do this before the registration, or?
They do, yeah, they have to qualify. Again, we have a system in place that once someone passes a swim test, they kind of pass the prerequisite, and then that makes them eligible to register on the day of. Without passing the swim